Hello, everybody. I'm David O'Malley from The Ohio State University, where I'm proud to lead the Division of Gynecological Oncology and also lead the portfolio for ovarian cancer trials in Giugi Partners. I'm here with my good friend, Katie Moore. Katie, please introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Kathleen Moore, and I'm the Associate Director of Clinical Research and Director of Phase 1 Clinical Trials at the Stevenson Cancer Center at the University of Oklahoma Health Sciences Center, and proud to be a part of the leadership for Giugi Partners.
So, Kate, not only do you lead a part of the senior leadership for Giugi Partners, you also lead the portfolio on the NRG side. So we're going to talk today about 2021 in review for ovarian cancer. Now, let's see. We completed enrollment for 3025 or DUO, right, which is durvalumab plus or minus Bev, physician's choice. 3036 Keylink, which was pembrolizumab, completed both of those enrollment, and then a trial that I was really honored to be a part of, which was 3029, which was the Innovate trial, and that was the TT Fields with weekly paclitaxel. So that completed enrollment. So we had an amazing year in enrolling in clinical trials this year, both in the upfront and platinum resistant. Katie, what else we have going on in our portfolio?
We have a lot. I think the folks watching at home, hopefully we're getting the message out about really what the opportunities are and the broad swath of opportunities for clinical trial participation to really help our patients live longer, better lives. And I think we have, at the present, only one study in the frontline setting, and that is the study of origavimab included into frontline chemotherapy, although as I think you'll talk about later, there's more in the pipeline. And then we have a very robust portfolio of clinical research ongoing in the platinum-resistant setting.
So we have Mirasol, Uplift, antibody drug conjugates. You've been involved, obviously Mirasol is your baby with Merv. So tell us about Mirasol and Uplift.
So I love antibody drug conjugates, you're right. I'm very partial to this class of agents. And the rationale in ovarian cancer is so strong because even though we're not mutationally driven, with the exception of BRCA, our tumors are coded in these proteins that are either only expressed or overexpressed on the tumors. And so we can use them to target highly potent chemotherapy on these very sophisticated antibody drug conjugates. And so the field here is really bright, but we're going to have, we just had a success with Merbituximab, finally. So Mirasol is Giugi 3045, which is the confirmatory trial for Merbituximab in platinum-resistant ovarian cancer that is folate receptor alpha high. So that's about 40% of the high-grade serous population, and it randomizes patients 1-to-1 to receive Merbituximab or physician's choice chemotherapy with a progression-free survival endpoint. And we are doing great with screening for that through Giugi Partners, and we anticipate hopefully meeting enrollment in mid-2022. So a big plea to keep going. But as many of you heard, the accelerated approval for Merbituximab, SORIA, reported high-level results just last week with similar population, except they had to have seen bevacizumab with a response rate over 30% and a median duration of response of at least 5 months, but it will get longer because the patients are still being followed. And so it clearly met the accelerated approval benchmark, and hopefully will get us closer to having this agent available. Upafitamab is our other kind of farthest along ADC. This is the Mersana asset that targets sodium phosphate transporters, so we call it NaPi2b. So this is an antibody drug conjugate that's currently in a similar population, platinum-resistant ovarian cancer, 1 to 3 priors, upafitamab single agent, as they sort out the response rate by the NaPi2b expression. So the development of this very exciting agent continues, but is kind of getting close to an accelerated approval play.
And they've talked about moving that into a platinum sensitive maintenance type of strategy publicly. Now, so those are 2 antibody drug conjugates. We're going to develop them further. Now, Catherine Fu is leading the 3059, the Accelerate trial. Really cool mechanism action, this GAS-X. What would you tell people about the Accelerate trial?
Yeah, this is exciting. It's an entirely different pathway. We've been talking about PARP inhibitors and anti-angiogenics, et cetera. But this is a whole new pathway, this GAS6 AXL pathway. So in short, the AXL is a transmembrane protein that Dr. Fu, through a decade of research, this has really been her now R01 funded work, has demonstrated is associated with poor prognosis, more likely to be platinum resistant, more likely associated with metastatic disease. So it definitely has a role in prognostic signaling. The question is whether or not it's a predictive marker yet. It's been very hard to drug that particular tyrosine kinase receptor for a variety of reasons that we won't go into. However, there is a drug, ABB500. This is an Aravive asset that is basically a sponge for the only ligand for AXL, which is called GAS6. So if you just sort of suck all that circulating GAS6 up, you don't activate your AXL. And that leads to a lot of downregulation of pro-metastatic pathways, but also leads to accumulation of paclitaxel intracellularly, hence the synergy with probably a lot of things. I'll just give you a heads up on that. But with weekly paclitaxel, and so that is the FDA registration trial running now. Accelerate, this is Giugi 3059, 1 to 4 priors, platinum resistant, weekly paclitaxel versus weekly pac plus ABB 500, which is a drug that has very little toxicity, plays well in the sandbox. So if this works, will be a really important advance.
Really interesting findings. The toxicity seems to be improved in the combination arms in the preclinical work. So, again, if you're, so what I'm hearing is, we've talked to Kate and I have talked a ton about this. How do we make sure we have more access to our patient for trials for our patients? So screen them for the biomarker. Screen them for the biomarker. If you're positive for the biomarker, it's easy. Go into that trial. And then anybody who you're thinking weekly paclitaxel, make sure you have a trial open with weekly paclitaxel. Many of our biologics are pairing with that. And speaking of that, 3018, Giugi 3018, which is the VB111, which they now are calling Ofravec. This is also with weekly paclitaxel, so weekly paclitaxel plus or minus Ofravec. And this is really interesting. This is an anti-cancer viral gene therapy, which is the adenovirus actually targets these anti-angiogenic processes. So they're being taken up by the cells and then also targeted. So it's an anti-angiogenic activity. Again, with weekly paclitaxel, that makes a ton of sense. So really, we're coming close to completing enrollment in that trial. We need to push through. The other, which is really interesting, is actually a trial led by Tom Herzog, Giugi 3044, which is the Profecta-2 trial. Now, this is a AKT inhibitor, which again, if you inhibit the AKT pathway, you're an inhibitor of that PIK3 kinase AKT overall pathway, thinking that leads to apoptosis, again with weekly paclitaxel. And this agent is pronounced furoseratinib. Again, very interesting. And there's a big amendment coming out that Tom and I actually did a video on in education. So please check that out. Many of these trials, to include the Accelerate, have very nice videos on our website. So please check it out. Now, Katie, you talked about the one upfront trial, 3035. And right now it's the only upfront trial, right? So, and we have to remember that it has both an adjuvant and a neoadjuvant arm. And we need to remember to make sure we get those patients. Once again, a drug that's been around a while, monoclonal antibody versus MUC16 or the CA125, we think leading to greater adjuvant presenting cells, which again, triggering that immune response, okay? So we're seeing really interesting results in the past, and now we're looking at the upfront setting. You have to remember to get your testing for BRCA early on. And if you're going to use maintenance therapy for HRD, you have to send that on your own. That's not part of the trial. So Katie, amazing stuff going on. Really want to thank our investigators who are listening to this, to the fantastic work they've done enrolling these clinical trials. But I got to tell you, do we seriously have 3 trials in rare ovarian cancer that are enrolling or about to enroll?
We do. Finally.
It's crazy. Crazy. So we got 3026, which is the ribociclib plus letrozole, 3056, which is the Veristem product, and then 3051, which is Bouquet. So we all know about CD46K inhibitors now, combined with letrozole and low grade, that's being led by Brian Slomovitz, 3026. You've done a lot of work with the VAC inhibitors. Can you tell us a little bit about 3052?
So 3052 is the RAMP study. So this is sponsored by Veristem and pairs their VS6766, which is a dual RAF MEK inhibitor, plus their defactinib, which is a FAK inhibitor. And so the VS6766, it's hard to say, is an interesting agent because, you know, we know the story of MEK inhibitor in low-grade serous. This whole study is in low-grade serous, and it is an active agent. It has a response rate of about 15%, relatively short-lived. Why? Well, because you get this paradoxical kind of phosphorylation of RAF when you hit MEK, and it just kind of circles back around and upregulates the whole pathway. And so by inhibiting both MEK and RAF, you circumvent that resistance pathway and maintain efficacy of the MEK inhibitor. And that's been demonstrated really beautifully in phase 1 work done mainly at the Royal Marsden. Now, the other thing that happens when you block this pathway is you upregulate FAK. They found in all of these tissue biopsies from the original phase 1, and so they added in their FAK inhibitor. And when they did that in the phase 1 in patients, women with low-grade serous ovarian cancer, so finally we have work done just in this population, for KRAS mutated tumors, the response rate was 70%, it's almost 70%. But for KRAS wild type, the response rate was still over 40% and both very durable. So initially the thought was, well, this is just only a KRAS story, but it's not, because your best alternative is a 15% response rate, and now we're showing 40% or higher. So this is really exciting. It does come with toxicity, the skin toxicity you really have to work to help patients through. So I'm not telling you it's easy, but it's worth it if we can actually shrink tumors in low grade for the first time for a durable amount of time. So I'm really excited about it, and please continue to enroll.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think that this is a biomarker driven. Wild type is allowed to enroll. So we have to remember that any low grade is eligible for this trial. 3051 of the Bouquet trial. This is really cool. This is an umbrella study, biomarker driven in rare ovarian cancers. So we actually now have a rare ovarian cancer trial, not just low grade. So there's actually 4 arms. There's a PIK3 kinase inhibitor, their PIK3 kinase, and it's Genentech Roche. I'm sorry, I forgot to say that. MEK inhibitor, the antibody drug conjugate versus HER2/neu, and then a biomarker negative, which is Atezo and Bev combined. So this trial is just getting open here in the United States, and again, really amazing opportunity for our rare tumor patients, which is really needed. So, Kay, we talked about 2021. I'm really excited about 2022. What are you most excited about for 2022?
Well, I think as you alluded to at the very beginning of this, there are 4 completed frontline studies. They've all finished accrual and are maturing. And while we can't speculate on when they will result, I'm kind of excited for those. You know, I think those are going to be either the dawning of the immunotherapy age for ovarian cancer or the final nail in the coffin. We'll have to see. But I'm very excited. I led one of those studies, and you know, of course, I'm biased, but I'm very excited to see those result out, and of course, continue the accrual for the Orgavimab study. So I think that would be number 1. And then there's, you know, as you alluded to, the tumor treatment fields, which again, what a different sort of treatment paradigm for women with ovarian cancer, has completed accrual. So we can expect to see that as well. So I'm always excited for pending results from a kind of things that are opening and are just getting started. You know, I think the immunotherapy story, as I alluded to, has been a little disappointing in ovary, but now we're coming at it in different ways. It's not just, you know, all monotherapy immune checkpoint inhibitors. And so we do have the Artistry-7 study that has really recently launched, and sites are just getting started on this, which is nemvaleukin plus pembrolizumab versus pembrolizumab versus nemvaleukin to sort out the relative contributions. But nemvaleukin is a really interesting modified IL-2 agent. So trying to get all the benefits of IL-2 without the systemic side effects, which has been its limiting factor over time. IL-2 is not new, but this agent is. So this is a really unique way to come at immunotherapy in ovarian cancer, and I'm pretty excited to see where this one goes.
Yeah, and that's a platinum resistant. We also have the Xantalis WEE1 inhibitor, and they have publicly said that they're opening several trials in ovarian cancer, and so those are also launching this year, both in the phase 1 as well as in the larger trials. So we have, I counted today as I was preparing for this, we have 15 to 16 trials, including upfront, platinum sensitive and platinum resistant, all under development, that most of those should open in 2022. So lots more to come. I want to say thank you to everybody that's listening to here. I mean, because of you, because of the care for your patients, we are bringing these drugs available to our patients. Obviously, we always can find ways to figure out the sequencing to allow greater access to some of these agents. As you heard Dr. Moore say, 40 to 70% activity, when we know it's probably less than 10% of platinum resistant, for example. And then how about we start curing more people in the upfront and maybe in the recurrent setting? So I want to say thank you to all of you. Happy holidays, happy new year. Dr. Moore, last word.
Really, I think I just echo that. I think the folks that are watching this we're probably preaching to the choir or the choirs a little bit. But thank you for your support of clinical research. Please reach out as you have been if you want to be more involved or you're interested in what trials are available at your site. We've been happy to meet with our sites individually to really bring you into the family and make sure you have the right studies open for your population. So hopefully, I feel like we're being quite responsive, but let me know if we're not. And just again, happy holidays. It's a great time of year. Be blessed.